the Honorable President of the Senate, Honorable Colin Trench Sandiford, and Honorable Senators,
the Honorable Speaker of the House of Representatives,
Valerie Woods, the Honorable Prime Minister,
John Bricino, and members of the Cabinet, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, and members of the House of Representatives, Special Envoy Her Excellency
Rosanna Bricino, members of the Diplomatic Corps, and invited guests. It is a great honor
to stand before this assembly in the spirit of friendship
and shared purpose that has long united Belize and Guyana. From the moment of our arrival, my delegation and I have felt not only the warmth of the Belizean hospitality, but the easy familiarity of a Caribbean family welcoming one of its own. I am deeply honored to have been invited on a state visit to this magnificent country, an expression of the highest respect between sovereign nations, and a moment to reaffirm the bonds that connect our peoples, our institutions, and our shared aspirations. The occasion provides Guyana and Belize with a valued opportunity to deepen political dialogue, expand cooperation across economic, security, cultural, and environmental spheres, and reaffirm the common values and strategic interests that bind our two countries.
I'm equally appreciative of the invitation to address
this honorable assembly. This House stands as the guardian of Belize's democracy. It is the representative forum in which the aspirations, interests, and will of the Belizean people are given voice and expression. Precisely because this assembly embodies the democratic will and sovereign authority of the Belizean people, it provides a most fitting setting in which to reflect on the deeper bonds that unite our two nations.
Belize and Guyana are bound by more than diplomacy. We are united by a shared history of colonization, by common resolve in safeguarding our independence, sovereignty, and territorial integrity, and by aspirations rooted in dignity, stability, and progress. Belize and Guyana also share a strong and enduring commitment to democratic governance. Central to this commitment is the role of our representative parliaments. These institutions serve as the principal forums for democratic deliberation,
accountability, and lawmaking. Through our representative assemblies, the voices of our citizens are expressed, national priorities are debated,
and governments are held to account. In this way, democracy is reinforced not only as a system of governance, but as a shared value that underpins political stability
and national development in both our countries. Belize and Guyana are both small states,
richly endowed with natural resources, including environmental assets and ecosystems of global significance. Our two countries possess some of the most diverse and valuable ecosystems
in the Caribbean, encompassing vast tracts of tropical forests, extensive freshwater resources, and extraordinary biodiversity that place us among the world's most environmentally significant small states. Our territories include critical habitats that support unique flora and fauna, provide essential ecosystem services such as carbon sequestration and climate regulation, and sustain livelihoods through agriculture, forestry, fisheries, and ecotourism. At the same time, these natural endowments carry global responsibilities. Belize and Guyana serves as careful custodians of environmental heritage, whose preservation is vital not only to our national development, but also to regional and global ecological balance. And that is why we have a joint responsibility to monetize this most important global asset, and the world in turn has a responsibility to ensure that economic value of these assets are passed on to the peoples of our countries. It must therefore be our resolve to win this battle of monetization now, so that successive generations from now would inherit this same rich value we have today. We are proud members of the Caribbean community, a regional family founded on cooperation, integration, and collective self-reliance. Through this shared membership, Belize and Guyana strengthen our capacity to address common challenges, advance regional development, and project a united and constructive voice on the global stage. Above all, Belize and Guyana share a principled commitment to the peaceful settlement of disputes. We have consistently chosen dialogue over confrontation and law over force. In this spirit, both our nations place confidence in the rule of international law and in established legal and diplomatic processes as a means by which differences are resolved. We affirm that lasting peace and stability are best secured through restraint, reason, and respect for international norms. Yet, like many small states, Belize and Guyana have also carried burdens that have constrained development. As small and open economies, we have at times been particularly vulnerable to shifts in external market conditions, fluctuations in global commodity prices, disruptions to supply chains, and changes in international financial and trade environments have periodically exposed our economies to sudden and disruptive shocks. These vulnerabilities are compounded by limitations inherent in small domestic markets. The scale of our economies restrict opportunities for efficiency and growth. Constraints in technical expertise and specialized human capital can also slow the full realization of our natural and economic potential. Both our countries have faced challenges to territorial integrity and sovereignty. These challenges have demanded sustained attention, absorbed resources, and created uncertainty, with consequences for economic and social progress. We also confront common threats that transcend borders. Climate change poses profound risks to our societies and economies. Energy and food insecurity place additional strain on development. Transnational crime, including the illicit trafficking of drugs, weapons, and people, undermines stability and corrodes institutions. These challenges facing small states in our hemisphere are becoming more acute and more complex. Climate change continues to threaten coastlines, food systems, and water security. Energy insecurity and volatility in global markets expose our economies to shocks beyond our control. Food insecurity, driven by climate events and external disruptions, places additional strain on vulnerable populations. That is why, Prime Minister, my dear friend, I agree with you that Belize and Guyana must lead in the food security of this region. And when we make this investment, human, financial, and technological investment, the region must in turn have a fair trade system in which our produce and production is not subjected to the bureaucracy of the system, or is not subjected to artificial barriers of trade that affect this region. We must together champion the cause of removing the barriers to trade, especially in food in this region. For too long, the region is taken for granted. Our farmers and our food system. We must push back hard now to ensure that our food becomes the region food by a system that encourages and supports this. As I said, climate change continues to threaten coastlines, food systems, and water security. Food insecurity driven by climate events and external disruptions place additional strain on vulnerable populations. These material and environmental pressures are unfolding at a time when the international environment itself is marked by heightened uncertainty and rapid change. For small states, this underscores the importance of stable institutions, predictable rules, and cooperative approaches to global problem solving. When international conditions become less predictable, small economies face higher costs, reduced market access, and fewer opportunities for growth. In such circumstances, the consistent application of agreed rules and respect for established processes become even more vital to safeguarding sovereignty and development. These dynamics make it more challenging for small states to pursue sustainable development. They also reinforce the case for partnership, dialogue, and collective engagement as the most effective means by which small nations can protect their interests and advance their aspirations in the global arena. These realities compel us to ask a fundamental question. How can small states facing existential threats and operating in a complex and demanding international environment secure their well-being and advance sustainable development? I suggest that the answer does not lie in a single solution. It lies in a strategic set of mutually reinforcing approaches. First, we must continue to deepen regional cooperation. And we must look at best practices in the region itself. And we must be able not only to look at those best practices, but to embrace those practices. Build capacity among each other. Advance capacity among each other. And that is what Belize and Guyana, that is what we're celebrating here today. The exchange of ideas, technology, and systems that are localized, that are proven to be effective within our own ecosystem. And when we trust each other to transfer our localized technology to support the growth and development of each other, we become stronger, more resilient, and definitely more independent. And that is what we celebrate today. Through shared membership in regional organizations, small states find strength in numbers. These institutions enable us to protect national interests whilst advancing shared objectives, whether in trade, climate action, or collective security. Regional cooperation is not a surrender of sovereignty. It is a reinforcement of that sovereignty. By acting collectively, small states are better able to negotiate from a position of confidence and to speak with a unified and constructive voice in global affairs. This enhances influence, strengthens resilience, and expands opportunities. Regional integration also creates a broader and more assured economic base within which our countries can trade and invest with greater confidence. You know, the irony of the region is that our nurses are good enough to be trained in this region and pursued by the advanced markets in UK, Canada, European Union. But our education system is not good enough in those same markets for them to compensate us for the training of these nurses. If the end product is good enough for your market, then surely the system that developed that product must be of the class and standard that your market requires. It is these debates that will define how successful we are in the future. We must not shoot ourselves down by saying to the world our educational system is no good. Yes, there might be challenges, but it is the same education system that is providing the nurses, the doctors, the technicians, the construction workers that they seek after. Unless, as a collective, we recreate minds of positivity and advance stories of success, we'll forever be in that state of mental slavery. And this is something Belize and Guyana must champion. We have developed a digital school that is now available for all of the region. Our education system must continue to improve to meet the needs of our regional children. And our regional children and regional parents must trust what we build. Must trust what we build and use what we build in this region. By acting collectively, small states are better able to negotiate from a position of confidence and to speak with a unified and constructive voice in global affairs. This enhanced influence strengthens resilience and expands opportunity. Regional integration also creates a broader and more assured economic space within which our countries can trade and invest with greater confidence. The movement toward a CARICOM single market and economy offers a shared market that facilitates the movement of labor, capital, goods and services, strengthening competitiveness and widening opportunity for all member states. Despite the challenge it has faced over the decades, the Caribbean community has stood the test of time. I repeat that. The Caribbean community has stood the test of time. For more than 50 years, CARICOM has remained intact, resilient, and relevant in a changing global environment. Its endurance speaks to the strength and value of the regional ideal, it is now incumbent upon us to make the community stronger, more responsive, and better equipped to serve both the collective and national interests of our peoples. This requires renewal, commitment, and a shared sense of purpose. Within CARICOM, differences of opinions should not be viewed as divisive. While we must strive and strive earnestly for consensus, a plurality of views and at times divergence in perspectives are essential to the vitality of our deliberations. Such diversity sharpens analysis, strengthens decision-making, and ensures that outcomes are more inclusive and reflective of our lived realities. Respectful disagreements is not a source of fragmentation. It is often a wellspring of collective strength. The recently concluded partnership agreement between the European Union and Mercosur stands as a clear illustration of the benefits of interregional cooperation in a complex and evolving global economy. It reflects a growing recognition that collective engagement across regions can expand market access, strengthen economic resilience, and enhance influence for participating states. This agreement forms part of a broader and accelerating global trend. Across regions, countries are deepening economic partnerships, both within regions and between them, as practical and forward-looking responses to uncertainty and change. This development underscores the enduring relevance of cooperation, integration, and partnership as effective tools for advancing shared prosperity and mutual interests. In navigating a demanding global environment, small states must continue to place confidence in the international rule of law and in the value of multilateral engagement. Given their limited economic, political, and military capacity, small states rely on shared rules, agreed norms, and collective mechanisms to safeguard their interests and advance their development. International law for small states is not an abstraction, it is a practical and essential safeguard. It provides predictability, encourages restraint, and offers peaceful means for the resolution of disputes. For this reason, small states have a strong and enduring interest in active participation in multilateral institutions. Through these frameworks, states, large and small, engage on the basis of agreed principles and mutual respect. Such engagements help to ensure that differences are managed through dialogue, cooperation, and established processes. Multilateral engagement is therefore not a matter of convenience for small states. It is necessity. It provides the rules, norms, and collective engagements that ensure smaller nations are heard and our issues are addressed. In a system grounded in cooperation and respect for law, legitimacy carries weight and power is tempered by principle. By supporting and strengthening multilateral engagement, small states help to safeguard their sovereignty, enhance their security, and preserve their right to shape their own destinies. In a global economy marked by change and uncertainty, small states cannot afford to rely excessively on a narrow range of markets or partnerships. Dependence is not a strategy. It is a vulnerability. When external conditions shift, those with limited options bear the greatest cost. economic sovereignty, like political independence, is preserved not by reliance alone, but by diversification. For small states, resilience is built through choice. It is strengthened by partnerships that are broad, balanced, and flexible. In this regard, I emphasize the flexibility of our partnerships. Fostering stronger South-South cooperation and expanding trade among developing states should form an important pillar of foreign policy. Such engagement widens opportunity, cushions against external shocks, and reduces structural dependence. Internally, diversification is equally essential. While sectors such as tourism have demonstrated resilience in recent years, small states are most secure when growth is not carried on the shoulders of a few sectors alone. A diversified economy embracing new frontiers such as digitization, technology-driven services, and environmental services is not merely desirable. It is a practical investment in long-term resilience and sustainable development. Our future and future-proofing our economies require us to embrace AI, digitization, technology, and the ecosystem that ensures this generation and the next generation can function in the new world. And we must also ensure that the legislative framework and the rules that govern the equitable delivery of these technologies and the moral compass through which these technologies are implemented, that they are in place today to secure our society, our democracy, and our ideals. This is now practical investment in long-term resilience and sustainable development. On the bright side, the size of our population is the pilot size for any technology. So we can do this at scale and at speed through a pilot. And yes, it is expensive. But if we look at what we have already and the capacity we have already in the system, it will allow us to do this at a cost that is more reflective of our economies. And that is some of the partnership that we are engaging in. While safeguarding strategic autonomy, small states must also recognize the importance of cooperation where interests align. Partnership and autonomy are not opposing concepts. When pursued thoughtfully, they are mutually reinforcing. This is especially true in the area of security. Cooperation is essential to protecting our societies and economies from transnational criminal networks engaged in the trafficking of weapons, people, and illicit goods. Geography places both Belize and Guyana along routes that are exploited by such networks, creating challenges that no single state can address alone. These threats do not respect borders. They therefore require coordinated responses. Transnational problems demand transnational solutions. It is imperative that small states actively pursue cooperation within regional and international partners who share a common interest in preventing, disrupting, and dismantling organized criminal activity. Such cooperation strengthens national capacity and enhances collective security. Sovereignty is not diminished by cooperation. It is weakened by isolation and vulnerability. Through partnership grounded in mutual respect, small states are better able to protect their people, their institutions, and their future. Another essential pillar of resilience for a small state lies in democracy and open economies. In a world of rapid change and evolving challenges, transparency, accountability, and respect for human rights are not luxuries. They're strategic assets. Representative democracy, anchored in free and fair elections, ensures that power remains accountable to the people. It provides governments with legitimacy and purpose. Open and democratic societies attract investments, encourage innovation, and empower citizens to contribute meaningfully to national development. For small states, the rule of law, the integrity of electoral processes, and the protection of civil liberties are not optional ideals. They're essential safeguards of sovereignty, stability, and social cohesion. And this is not the responsibility for governments alone. It is the responsibility of every citizen, every organization, and the private sector. In the development of a modern society, every segment of the society must be held accountable. Accountability is not only for the government. It is for the opposition. It is for the private sector. It is for the education system. It is for every segment of the population. Economic openness also plays a critical role in development. While openness carries risk, it facilitates access to market, capital, technology, and ideals that are vital for growth. Open economies may be more exposed to external shocks. They are also more adaptable and better positioned to recover from disruption. For small states, openness is not an act of recklessness. It is a deliberate and calculated choice, one that expands opportunity while demanding vigilance and sound governance. Democracy and openness are therefore twin engines of resilience, adaptability, and long-term progress. Together, they provide small states with the confidence, credibility, and capacity to navigate uncertainty and advance the well-being of their peoples. It is from this foundation of democratic confidence and openness that we now turn to the most urgent test of collective resilience, one that transcends borders, demands cooperation, and speaks directly to the future of small states: climate change. Climate change represents the most serious and immediate existential challenge facing small states, including Belize and Guyana. Rising sea levels, increasingly intense storms, prolonged droughts, and coastal erosion threaten lives, livelihoods, and long-term development. For centuries, with low-lying coastlines and climate-sensitive economies, these impacts are accelerating and demand sustained attention at the national, regional, and global levels. Small states are neither passive nor powerless in the face of this challenge. While we are among those most exposed to the consequences of climate change, we are also determined to be part of the solution. The solution is not a begging bowl for handouts or for charity or for sympathy. The problem is real, and we have real assets. So the solution must be market-based, and we must let the world understand that what we possess, this natural asset, is part of an ecosystem that supports life and livelihood on this earth, and the valuation and value must come to our people. While we are among those most exposed to the consequences, we are also determined, as I said, to be part of the solution. Belize and Guyana have consistently demonstrated leadership in this regard. We provide the world with critical ecosystem and environmental services, including carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, and climate regulation. And let me say something on biodiversity. We launched the Global Biodiversity Alliance. We live in a planet today where in the last 60 years we have lost more than 60% of our biodiversity asset globally. Belize and Guyana, we have kept most of ours intact. When biodiversity goes, ecological systems go. Medicine goes, pharmaceutical goes, research and development goes, culture goes, indigenous knowledge goes, because biodiversity supports all of those things. Forest-rich and biodiversity-endowed countries must therefore place appropriate value on these assets and manage them responsibly. In Guyana, we have made it clear that our forests are worth more standing than being felled. Through our low-carbon development strategy, we have begun to translate this principle into action by monetizing the value of forest conservation through jurisdictional carbon credit mechanism. We are also pursuing innovative financing approaches to safeguard biodiversity and strengthen environmental resilience. Food security is another pressing challenge confronting our world and our region. Globally, more than 700 million people face hunger, while billions experience moderate or severe food insecurity. Conflict, climate shocks, supply chain disruptions, and economic volatility have combined to place unprecedented pressure on global food system. Rising food prices have further compounded these pressures, disproportionately affecting small states that rely heavily on food imports and are therefore exposed to external shocks beyond their control. For Belize, Guyana, and the wider Caribbean, food security must mean ensuring that all our peoples have reliable access to affordable, nutritious, and adequate food. Recognizing this imperative, CARICOM has set an ambitious yet achievable target of reducing the region's food import bill by 25% by 2030. And here lies enormous opportunities for Brazil, for Belize and Guyana. Brazil, yes, it's on our mind because as we adopt new technology and look at expanding our food system, it is important that we look at what Brazil is doing. The systems, the technology, the genetics that they're investing in. It's a low-hanging fruit. We have to embrace these changes if we are to be more resilient, sustainable, creating higher yield crops, more resilient to diseases and pests. And Guyana is ready to not only support this journey of Belize, but to walk in partnership with you. Achieving these targets requires sustained investment in agriculture, the adaptation of modern technologies, the expansion of climate-resilient farming practices, improved logistics, and greater emphasis on value-added agro-processing. Strengthening our agri-food system is not only an economic necessity, it is a strategic imperative for resilience, public health, and social stability. Food security alone, however, cannot sustain development or resilience unless it is supported by reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy. Energy powers production, transportation, and value creation across our economies. Energy security is therefore vital to the economic transformation and long-term competitiveness of small states. High and volatile energy prices raise production costs, strain public finance, and undermine growth, particularly in economies that depend heavily on energy imports. For many years, our region has been exposed to external energy shocks, leaving our economies vulnerable to global price fluctuations. This reality reinforces the importance of building stronger and more secure energy systems. We must therefore pursue greater regional and national energy security as a foundation for sustainable development. This includes diversifying energy sources, expanding the use of renewable energy, improving energy efficiency, and strengthening regional cooperation in energy planning and infrastructure. And in doing all of this, we must give greater ownership to our citizens, our private sector, and those who reside in our country. If our citizens and our people in the region own our food system, own our energy system, own our telecom system, own our technology, own the things that drive our economy, then we are building resilience from within, and we are building prosperity from within. Let us not forget that. By reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels and stabilizing energy costs, we can accelerate economic progress, enhance resilience, and create a more secure and sustainable future for our peoples. I conclude by reminding honorable members that throughout history, our peoples and our lands have braved storms, both literal and in metaphor. We have endured the forces of nature. We have resisted enslavement and injustices of indentureship and colonial domination. We have preserved through economic hardship our culture, our systems, and our people. Time and again, Belizeans and Guyanese have demonstrated a steadfast belief in our right to determine our own future. Our history is not one of passivity. It is a history of persistence. That legacy now calls upon us to act with renewed purpose. It calls upon small states to exercise confidence and to play their full and rightful role in shaping the future we seek and the world seek for our peoples. In a rapidly changing world, this requires for us to be nimble, flexible, and adaptable, ready to innovate, ready to cooperate, and ready to seize opportunity, while remaining firmly anchored in the principles that define who we are. With confidence in our people and clarity of purpose, we can meet uncertainty not with fear, but with resolve. Belize and Guyana may be small in size, but we are not small in principle, ambition, or determination. By standing together within our region and beyond, by upholding the rule of law, strengthening democratic institutions, and cooperating strategically, we can ensure that our peoples do more than endure the challenges of our time. We can ensure that they prosper. It is on this foundation of shared values, mutual respect, and common purpose that the partnership between Belize and Guyana will continue to grow. And I assure my dear friend, the Prime Minister, and the people of Belize that the prosperity of Guyana will lead to the prosperity of Belize and the prosperity of this region. I call upon the private sector of both countries to seek out opportunities between both countries create partnership. Create partnership in capital, in talent, in land, in technology, and in market. I can assure you, you have two governments aligned in this vision of empowering the private sector, empowering the people to grow their prosperity, advance their businesses, create jobs, and enhance the economic well-being of the people of both countries. The private sector is central to the expansion of this relationship. The private sector is integral to the expansion of this relationship. Together, we can transform challenges into opportunities and offer our peoples not only security and stability, but confidence in the future they are building. I thank you, honorable members, for the privilege of addressing this assembly. May God bless this honorable assembly. May God continue to bless Belize and Guyana and the enduring bond of friendship between our countries. I thank you, and God bless all of you.